So it's finally here. I know the big question everybody wants to know is the Switch 2 worth it? There's been a lot of discussion about how expensive the console is. I was a couple days late getting my console, but I've had a couple days to work with it now and spend some time with it. And I have some cons that I don't like about it. I have some pros that I really do like about it. And I thought we could go through today and talk about all those together and decide if it is, in fact, worth $450. I was on vacation, so when I got back, I went to Best Buy and picked up my pre-order. It was about 4 days late. I think they held it for 5 days, so I made it pretty close. I have some video here of me going to get it. And then when I came home, I unboxed it, made a bunch of unboxing videos, and realized that you guys don't need to hear me say, "Oh, it's bigger. Oh, this feels better." Oh, so I'm just going to show you some of the footage here, but I'll just talk over it so we can get to the meat and potatoes of the video. I was surprised with how small the box was, considering this is a bigger Switch than the old one and the OLED. The system does go from box to box with just the screen, so that's why they were able to put it in such a condensed box. They really did a nice job packaging everything. But I was surprised how big the system is. I've never seen one in person, so actually holding it and picking it up made me realize just in fact how big this thing is. And the Joy-Cons, they actually don't feel as big as they look. They look a lot bigger than the old Joy-Cons, but they don't feel very much bigger when you hold them in your hands. That was kind of a surprise to me. The dock is much bigger now because it has a fan in it, so it feels like a more substantial piece of hardware. And pretty much I can say that about the entire system. One thing that a lot of people didn't talk about the OLED when it came out was it just had a much better build quality than the original Switch. It felt like a more premium product, something that wasn't going to fall apart, something that was well made, and that continues here. Everything about the Switch 2 feels premium, feels like a quality product, something that the original Switch was sorely lacking. So after I got the system unboxed, I went ahead and hooked it up to my TV, went through the setup process, asked for your time zone, all that good stuff, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that there was music in the startup area. I was so happy about that. We've got music, ladies and gentlemen. We've got menu music. I'm 5 seconds in and already very excited. I hope there's more. Unfortunately, it got my hopes up that there was going to be music in other areas of the Switch 2 experience, and there was not. After the update, there was a little jingle that happened, but that was it. The menus are quiet, the eShop is quiet. They kind of just teased us with a little bit of music during the setup, and then from there on out, there was no more music. So we're going to talk about some pros, some things that I like about the console, before we go on to some of the cons, and then we'll weigh both and then say whether it's worth it or not. And then after everything was all set up, I had some time to put some of my old games and download them onto the system and try out Rune Factory, and of course the big one that everyone's wondering about, Mario Kart, the big controversial $80 game. So I played docked for a while just to get everything set up and everything before I went ahead and took it off of the dock. And this is where I was really curious because I've been very, very nervous about the screen. I love the OLED screen. I was very, very worried about this one. So does it live up to the Switch 2 name? Is it going to feel like a regression? To be honest, I was very pleasantly surprised by the screen. One of the things I loved about the OLED was the vibrancy of the colors and how much they popped. The vibrancy is there. The colors look very nice. They look very bright. They're just very, very vibrant and they look great. Much better than I was anticipating for an LCD screen. The things that it's missing from the OLED screen is the brightness. It obviously can't get as bright as the OLED screen did, and the blacks don't get as deep black. But the vibrancy of the colors actually took me by surprise, and I like it quite a bit. One of the things I hated about the Joy-Cons was how the sticks felt. They just felt kind of flimsy and really small. These are bigger, and they feel a lot better. They feel a lot smoother when you move them around in your hand. Yeah, they feel a lot better. They are bigger. It's hard to tell on camera, but it does feel a lot better when you guys move them around. It's a lot smoother, and it just feels a lot more premium. That's a word I'm going to be saying a lot. It just feels like they put a lot more time into the build quality of this thing. There's the C button right there, and then they have a attachment that goes onto that when you want to use the mouse functionality, and I'll get to that in a little bit as well. Here's the button for the releasing the magnet, which works really well. Everything feels really good when it snaps in. I do like the snap sound. It was louder than I was anticipating, but it feels like it's not going to go anywhere. It's a much bigger improvement over the rail system that they had for the first Switch. Speaking of the mouse functionality, I went ahead and tried it out. If you guys don't want to spend money on like the Welcome Tour or any of the games that use the mouse functionality, you can just buy Fortnite. Fortnite's free, and you can set it in the settings, so you can use the mouse controls. So it feels like a PC. So you can walk around with one Joy-Con and then use your mouse controls with the other. The mouse controls feel great. When you guys hold the Joy-Cons like this, it functions as just normal Joy-Cons. When you turn it on the side, all of a sudden a pointer will pop up on the screen. This happens in the menus and any of the games that work with it. And it just feels really good. It feels like you're playing a PC. It's awesome. That's one of the things I think Nintendo added. That is some of that Nintendo creativity, that Nintendo whimsy that nobody could have seen coming. That was just an amazing move by them. And I'm looking forward to seeing games that take advantage of that and how they're going to handle that in the future. The mouse can also work anywhere. It works on my leg. It works on the armrest of my chair. I have this chair that goes over. I can use that. It's been really, really easy to use. And I've been really impressed with it so far. Now it's time for my biggest pro. This is one of the things that I was hoping that Nintendo was going to improve on the most for the second Switch, is the eShop is way better now. If you have any experience using the eShop on the original Switch, you'll know it takes forever. It's laggy. It kicks you out all the time. That has been fixed. It's awesome now. The eShop is nice and snappy. It's very quick. There's no music. I would like it way more if there was even music. But they have a filter where you can see your wish list, and you can see only the games on your wish list that are on sale. That's huge for me because I'm always kind of going through to see which ones are on sale all the time. Love that. They have weekly recommendations. Every Saturday it updates it. So it'll give you some games that they recommend to you based on things that you've bought and played. Much improved. I'm hoping that continues and we continue to see more refinement with that in the future. But super stoked about a refined eShop experience. And obviously, with better hardware, more powerful hardware, the thing that's been great for me is seeing improved frame rates on all these games. Everything feels a lot smoother. Obviously, the graphics on the new games are great, but everything's just a much smoother experience, and that's to be expected for a next generation console. All right, these are the things I'm not a big fan of with the new Switch. There's there's a lot of pros, but there's also a lot of cons. It's not very comfortable. And this is kind of just has to do with the design of the Switch. The design of the Switch is just flat. There's no kind of bumps coming out to help you hold it or anything. And now that's kind of compounded by the fact that this is bigger and it's quite heavy. So, playing this portably for a while, unless you have like a Satisfy grip or something, it's going to get to be a little bit tiresome after a while. But I do know why they did it. They want to keep it nice and smooth and sleek and flat. So, that was a problem with the first Switch. It's just kind of compounded now because this one's even bigger. This console needs more storage, man. Like, with everything going digitally, they're pushing it all digital, especially with these game key cards now. Every game that we buy pretty much is going to need to take up a space of our storage. 256 is a big upgrade from the 32 that we had before, but we need way more. Like, Nintendo should have given us like a gig. If they had given us a gig, that would have been awesome. I know for most like regular, mainstream gamers, maybe they're not going to use that much storage, but for us hardcore gamers, like 256 is going to be filled up in no time flat. So I definitely think that they need more storage. The cards are hard to get and they're expensive. I know they'll be more plentiful and they'll get cheaper as it goes on, but especially right now, the Switch 2 is going to be filled up pretty quickly. This is the Joy-Con connector that was for the original Switch. You'll see that they have spaces for the Joy-Cons to go down because that's how the rail's attached. And they have this nice smooth top to it. The new Switch Joy-Con connector looks like this. because you have to go in horizontally. So you have this like abrupt edge right here. And when you have the Joy-Cons on it, that's really, really emphasized. When you hold it with your hands, you're constantly feeling like this like sharp edge. I don't like it at all. I never use these, but if you're not planning on playing with a Pro Controller and you're just going to use your Joy-Cons for a while and you're going to be using this, something to think about. And that goes hand in hand with my next con, which is going to be, I was kind of hoping they were going to put analog triggers on the Switch too. The digital triggers are good for instant inputs, but there are certain games like driving games when you want that analog trigger. So I was kind of bummed out about that. The placement of the C button has been a little bit problematic for me a couple times when I've been playing. Whenever I want to hit the home button, I usually go to the very bottom of the controller and then go up and hit that button. That's now the C button. I kind of think they should have made that the home button and the top one the C button. So I have been having some accidental presses with that, but you know, we'll get used to it. Although I love the mouse functionality and it's a great idea, these are really small to be using as a mouse. They're very, very, very tiny. So I know GameStop sells those adapters. You can put these in to make them a little bit more beefy. I'm definitely going to have to get some of those, I think, because it is really cool to use. But like hitting the buttons while you're doing this and it's so skinny, it feels kind of awkward. So maybe with an adapter that can be fixed, but it's not very comfortable. I've noticed that the system gets very, very hot, especially when I've been playing it docked for a while and I take it out. It's very hot. You can hear the fans on the system going like crazy. I mean, that's not really a con, but just something to be aware of. And then I did have one occurrence where I was playing docked and the screen just shut off. Like the TV wasn't getting input anymore. I took the Switch out of the dock and it was still working. It was still right where I was in my game. But yeah, it like lost connection to the TV for a couple of seconds. When I put it back in the dock, it resumed. So just kind of a weird, funky thing. So in addition to talking about whether the Switch is worth $450, I wanted to talk about whether Mario Kart is worth $80. I'm just going to get right to it. Knockout mode has been the standout in our house, but like my kids have not been asking to go back to it. Like when I first brought it home, they played for a couple hours, and now they're back to Roblox. So for me, you know, I'm not really that into it, so I definitely don't think it's worth $80. Like we put a few hours into it, and it's just okay. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, I don't even think I'd pay 70 for it, to be honest. Like this should be a $60 game, I think. The best part about it's the soundtrack, to be honest. I've been playing a lot of it, and I'm just constantly amazed by the music. But I don't know what Nintendo's thinking charging 80 for this. So, is the system worth $450? If you're a Nintendo fan like me and you are a huge fan of the Switch, I think it's totally worth $450. The performance upgrades are great. I love all the new things that they've added. And just being able to play more powerful games is going to be huge, especially as more games come out. But if you can wait, I would totally recommend waiting. There's not a whole lot of games out right now unless you're like a huge Mario Kart fan. But for most people, I think we can totally wait. You know, Nintendo's going to come out with revisions of this thing. We should take bets on how long it's going to be until the next the next Switch 2. It'll probably have OLED, and I'll probably buy it because I'm an OLED guy. But yeah, if you could wait, I would totally wait for right now, unless like a game comes out that you have to play. But if you're like a hardcore Nintendo fan, like it's totally worth $450. You guys should go get it. But if you guys are just like casual Switch fans, I would say totally wait for a revision or until a game that comes out that you really can't wait for. So thank you guys for watching. I've been loving my Switch 2. I got my little sign up here this weekend. Spoilers for my next video. Thank you to my 154 subs. Let's keep going on the road to 200. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I have a Switch addiction.